Social justice warriors rejoice. 20th Century Fox has apologized for and removed advertisements featuring Apocalypse choking Mystique. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you have not seen the ad, I have it on the screen before you. These ads were all over the country for months up until the May 27th release of X-Men Apocalypse, one of these big time, big box movies, superhero movies. And it had been out for months up until Rose McGowan, an actress, very well-known person, said something about it, how it was insensitive, etc. So that kind of created a social media outrage, which then prompted Fox to apologize. Now, before I get into the story any deeper, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm 31, but I've been a comic book fan, an X-Men fan, Ninja Turtle fan, all of that since I've been a little boy. More than anything, the X-Men. That was my main thing. When I was real little, it was the Turtles. That was my biggest thing. As I got a little bit older, I got more into the X-Men animated series that was on Fox. One of the best series, I think, that have come out. It had a lot of adult themes to it, even though it was for kids. Very good cartoon. I had the Jean Grey Dark Phoenix saga on VHS. Like, I would get up on a Saturday morning, whenever it was, like 11:30, and I would record each episode of the saga on the VHS tape. That's how far I go back, and that's how much I love the X-Men. Also, because my last name is Logan, so of course Wolverine's name is Logan. I was a big fan. I was also a big fan of the comics. I have a lot of the comics today. I have X-Men 25, where Magneto took out Wolverine's adamantium from his body. I have some of the OG Generation X. I have Generation X #2. I have some stuff from the Avengers. I have stuff from the Batman saga where he was getting beat up by Bane. I have comics from Image. I have Spawn. I have Pit. I'm a real comic book fan. I'm a real superhero action sci-fi guy, right? I'm really deep into the lore, so I understand all about what's going on in the Marvel Universe, DC Universe, etc. I think people like Rose McGowan, the person who has rung the bell for this whole situation, does not understand the lore. She does not understand the Marvel Universe, I could tell, because why would you be talking about violence against women, right? Mystique was one of the most powerful characters in the actual Marvel Universe. And when I say she's one of the most powerful characters in the actual X-Men Marvel Universe, I mean, not necessarily from her power, like, Cyclops has the beams to shoot out of his eyes or whatever. I mean, the fact that she can shapeshift, she could take on your voice, your clothes, whatever. And she's good at infiltrating because she can imitate somebody that is supposed to have access. And then when she gets in there, she can wreck shop because she's expert at hand-to-hand combat. And Apocalypse is also very powerful and a very old person, like a pseudo deity from ancient Egypt 5,000 years ago. Now, the whole thing behind it is just to show a scene of the movie, right? When the guys came out from 20th Century Fox and apologized, they were like, well, we didn't really realize this is going to cause this kind of problem. We just wanted to get a scene out from the movie to show, because we're excited about the movie, we just want to get this scene out there, which of course makes sense. And this is why women a lot of times don't like sports and anything dealing with sci-fi, because they get too much into the psychology of it and try to relate it to real life in an emotional way. See, Rose McGowan, she sees a man choking a woman, but to us that enjoy the comics, to us that enjoy the movies and the TV shows, etc., we look at it as this is just part of what's going on. It's the same thing where you had Magneto taking out Wolverine's adamantium from his body. We look at it in the same way. It's not that deep. It's not an SJW issue, which Rose McGowan made it into, because in her statement, she was saying, well, what if it was a black guy being choked by a white guy? What if it was a hetero male choking a gay male? And see, that has nothing to do with fantasy. So you're linking it to reality, but it's not. It's fantasy. You're talking about a shape-shifting person that's with blue skin versus this supernatural being who also has blue skin in a comic book movie. I mean, come on. Let's just kind of be real here. And one way I understand why somebody would say something about that, but I don't agree with it. I understand because people like Rose McGowan that are out there, they're antagonizing people, making them be like, oh, well, that's a man choking a woman, and not looking at it for just a scene in the movie, right? This is kind of the environment in which we live. You can't say anything that can be offensive to anybody that is part of a certain group, right? Prime example, if it was a situation like this where you have Colossus being choked out by a young lady in the Deadpool movie, if that was an advertisement on the billboard, would it be the same type of outrage? I doubt it. Because you got a male being choked by a female, that's okay. If it was a white male being choked by a black male, that'll be okay. But if it's a black male being choked by a white male, that's not okay. If it's a gay person choking a white male, that's okay. A white hetero or cisgender, whatever you want to call it. But you get my point. The point is that with identity politics is all about who's part of a protected class and who is not. And if you are not, then you are in danger of whatever they want to put on you. If they say that you are a racist, homophobe, or whatever, then you got to wear that because that's what they say. And here's the thing about it. You were able to successfully have 20th Century Fox remove these ads, which I'm sure will cost money because billboards are not cheap. Subway space is not cheap. Just the physical sign to produce it is not cheap. But also some of these prime locations are also not cheap. If you are successfully able to get them to edit their marketing materials, then what's next? See, it's just like lines being drawn in the sand and the lines consistently being erased and then moved further and further away from the intended original target. Prime example, a situation with the gay marriage. At first it was, okay, we don't mind if you gay, transgender, whatever. If you're not a man and a woman, you can eat together, sleep together, live together, whatever it is. But where we draw the line is getting married. You can't get married unless you are a man and a woman. But now you got the Supreme Court saying, oh, well, to say that two men can't get married or two women can't get married, that's unconstitutional. So what we're going to do, we're going to erase that line that was drawn that said only man and woman can get married, and we're going to just move it further down the line. Even though 99% of people were not harmed by the law as it was before. But for the very small portion of the population who was offended, who wants to actually get married the same as a regular male and regular woman, for that very small portion of the population, we're going to just keep moving that line on down the road. And we're going to help that very small portion of the population, but we're going to damage the population that is the overwhelming majority, 99.9%, who want to have marriage be between a man and a woman, or who think that marriage is something that's important and it should be kind of a tradition that's upheld, right? Maybe not 99.9%, but you get my point. The overwhelming majority of people want things the way they were. But for a very small portion of the population, we're going to just keep moving that line down the road. But see, it's never enough with SJWs, social justice warriors, and people that want to have whatever they want to have, social anarchy where there's no rules, everything goes. It's never going to be enough because what's next? First it was, okay, all gays can get married. Now it's like, okay, you know what? Today I think I'm a woman. I want to be considered a woman, so let's just abolish gender-specific restrooms and let's make them unisex, because that's effectively what is going on. If you say that a man can use the restroom the same as a woman, if he says that he is transgender, then that means the bathrooms are unisex, because anybody can say they're transgender, right? I don't have a problem with actual transgender people, like I've said before in previous videos. But my thing is, you're going to have heterosexual perverts that will claim to be transgender for that day, even though they are not, to take advantage of those laws, to make bathrooms effectively be less safe. And that's a problem. It's never going to be a point where they say, okay, that's enough. It's always going to be more and more. Like they're trying to say now, there's no genders. You can be gender pronouns. You can get sued or arrested or fined for not calling somebody the proper pronoun. How are you going to even know what proper pronoun to call somebody? Are they going to have a name tag on that says, call me Z, XE, rather than he or she or it? Like, how do you even know what to call somebody? How do you even know what somebody's gender is? That's where we're going in the country. And you could say I'm wrong. You could say I'm a bigot or whatever, but this is just the reality. And it's the same thing going on here with entertainment. And my thing is, it doesn't make much sense. But once I get into the mind of the SJW, it makes perfect sense. But to back up a little bit, the reason why I say it doesn't make any sense is because the way TV and movies are much more debaucherous, and you have much more deviant kind of behavior than you had maybe 20 years ago or in the 50s. Remember back in the day on I Love Lucy, you had Lucy and Desi. They had twin beds, but they were married. And you got to just imagine how they consummated their relationship as a married couple and had kids when they had separate beds, right? And they used to wear pajamas and all that. But now, fast forward to 2016, you could see a full-fledged sex scene with two men outside of just the actual penetration, which I'm pretty sure will be coming pretty soon. And Empire is a show where you can see that 8 o'clock on primetime network free TV. But back in the day, that kind of behavior, two men having sex, wouldn't even be seen in a rated R movie. And it definitely wouldn't be seen on regular TV. You wouldn't even see a man and woman in the same bed together or even partially nude. So to say that this ad showing two fictional characters, one is a male, one is a female, and one is choking the female, to say that's offensive and all this, that, and the third, It doesn't make any sense with what's going on right now in the country and the kind of entertainment you can see. I'm sure Rose McGowan has been in a sex scene where, you know, it was pretty debaucherous, something that would never be seen back in the 1950s. But yet here she is talking about, oh, this poster is promoting violence against women. Like I said about the lines being pushed all the way away from the intended target, from the intended goal, from what made sense, from what had society kind of in order socially, that did not promote any kind of social anarchy. To get back to that point, how far will the lines be pushed in the movies as far as it relates to censorship? Because that's effectively what has been done here. Rose McGowan was successfully able to get the movie marketing material censored. So what's next? You know, when you have big time movies like this, a lot of times they'll give screeners out to the people that will give it awards and stuff like that, or review it. Now, a screener, if you don't know, that's like an advanced copy of the movie before it comes out, right? And that's for people to review. Maybe if they're going to get an Oscar or whatever it is, they're going to check that out versus actually seeing it in the movies. So what happens when you get a reviewer that's also a SJW, or a screener happens to be seen by somebody that's an SJW, and now they start coming up with recommendations as far as content in your movie that needs to be removed? If you could say that this scene of Apocalypse choking Mystique has to be removed from a billboard, then what is to prevent someone from saying that it should be removed from the movie as well? Is that where we're going? Just full on censorship? Like, okay, I don't like that scene, take it out. Oh, it's a scene where the black person is not seen in a positive light, where they're seen as less than or subordinate to a white person, then it has to be removed. I mean, are we going to start censoring movies like Roots, where you got the white man raping the black woman, the foot getting chopped off by a white man? Are we going to censor that too? Like, where do we stop? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. On one hand, you want to have some of the most disgusting kind of displays on regular 8 o'clock free TV, but at the same time, you want to censor marketing materials for a movie which are not even that bad, and it's based on fantasy lore, which Rose McGowan and other SJWs have no idea about. Guys like me that used to read Wizard magazine, had all the comics, all the action figures, watched the animated series, was heavily invested from the beginning, and anticipated the X-Men movies to come out since he was a little boy. I mean, I'm really offended by the whole situation, but I'm not surprised, because this is what SJWs and many liberals, and I'm not even going to say liberals per se, I'm going to say just the SJWs, people that want to control what other people find enjoyable, I'm not with. So what do you think? Do you think that Miss Rose McGowan and anybody that wants to follow her are out of bounds? They're thinking that something like this poster is somehow offensive to women. It's dangerous. There's no context to it. And she said there's no context to it. See, that's why I say she has no idea of what is going on with the lore. Because if you understand the lore, if you understand the X-Men Marvel universe, then you understand the context to it. But somebody that has no idea what's going on with the context won't get that. So do you agree with that? Or do you think that Rose McGowan and other SJWs and other women are right in their assertion that this poster is violent towards women and it should not be seen? Even though you want to have it in the movie, you should not have that poster where little kids can see it, because it may entice them to think that violence towards women is okay. And if that's your point, then what about regular TV? You can just turn on 8 o'clock on Fox and you can see two men engaging in a deep, long, passionate tongue kiss. And that's okay. They can tongue kiss, have sex or whatever on regular TV. But a poster that has air quotes violence against a woman is bad. And if that's your viewpoint, then that's fine. But also tell me this: what if it was the other way around? Would that be okay? And if it's not okay, then why? Aren't women going to be equal? Aren't we in a society where there is no boundary between gender? Shouldn't it be equal on all sides? I don't know. I mean, whatever your thoughts are, positive and negative, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.